Live from the TV30 studio, here is Jim Schneider.
Well, hi, and welcome to inFocus. We're glad that you've joined us for our broadcast this evening, and we've got some special video footage that we want to share with you. Before we get to that, though, let me remind you that we have a very important primary coming up on Tuesday. This would be February the 18th. We will be voting on narrowing the candidates for the State Superintendent of Public Instruction. This is going to be occurring on February 18th, and you may have some other items on your ballot from your local aspect. Some referenda or other questions, municipal offices. The best way to find out is to go to myvote.wi.gov and click on What's on My Ballot. That's myvote.wi.gov and click on What's on My Ballot. Again, polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Election Day. That's the primary, February 18th. Well, there has been a whirlwind of activity taking place across this nation since President Trump was inaugurated just a few weeks ago. Many initiatives have been taken place and lots of executive actions have happened. We'll be telling you about one of them a little bit later on the broadcast this evening. But let me just mention that last week was a day of prayer that was being held. It was the Congressional National Prayer Breakfast. It was held right in the U.S. Capitol. It was on February the 6th, and the 73rd such event took place. Donald Trump addressed the group on this particular day. You're going to be hearing from him and see some of the other proceedings that happened, coverage that you probably will not get from other media here in the community, but we bring it to you as a public service. Right now, let's go to the U.S. Capitol, Statuary Hall, where this all unfolded just last week.
Welcome to the 73rd National Prayer Breakfast. I'm Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, and I am so pleased to be co-chairing this year's prayer breakfast with my good friend Roger Marshall from Kansas. In a few moments, we will welcome the President. To our leaders from both parties and both chambers, thank you for being here. And a special thanks to Senator Klobuchar, a member of the Democratic Senate leadership team, for pinch hitting this morning for Senator Schumer, who had a last-minute schedule change. In a minute, Roger will provide an opening prayer, but before he does, a moment about the history, tradition, and purpose that we are continuing here today. It's not uncommon for people to ask me why we have a prayer breakfast at the nation's capital, given the First Amendment, an amendment that protects freedom of religion by prohibiting government from favoring any one religion over another. An amendment that also protects the freedom of every American to decide how and whether to worship. Throughout our history, our leaders have been passionately committed to freedom of religion and freedom of expression. They've also faced enormous challenges, and has been the case throughout human history. They've sought divine inspiration and guidance as they faced humankind's limits. And in the dark days of World War II, a group of leaders, including senators, who had been convened by President Roosevelt to tackle certain wartime challenges, were confronted by a complex and difficult problem. One of the senators in the group said, "Oof, we better say our prayers on this one." And they did. What then became regular prayer sessions among that group was formalized into the Senate prayer breakfast. Similar events led to the House prayer breakfast. Fast forward to the early days of the Eisenhower administration and the suggestion of Senator Frank Carlson, who'd been Ike's campaign manager, to invite the president to meet with members of the Senate prayer breakfast for prayer and encouragement with his new responsibilities. The House prayer breakfast joined them, and the National Prayer Breakfast was born. We are grateful for all of you in attendance today as we gather to pray. And as we begin this morning, I am hopeful that we remember Abraham Lincoln's famous admonition, when during the Civil War, a member of the clergy said, "Mr. President, let us pray that God is on our side." Mr. Lincoln responded, "No, gentlemen, we should pray not that God is on our side, but that we are on God's." Roger, please lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Maggie. Almighty God, we begin this National Prayer Breakfast. Let us pause and remember the victims and families of the recent tragic plane crashes. Heavenly Father, we gather today in your holy presence, united as one nation, lifting our hearts in thanksgiving. Your word reminds us, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. We thank you for your guidance and blessings, and we seek your wisdom as we face the challenges of our time. Lord, your word says how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. Forgive us when we fall into division. Help us reflect your love and celebrate the values that strengthen our communities and our nation. We acknowledge, as the psalmist declared, our help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. In moments of uncertainty, may we find comfort to knowing you are our refuge and strength. As we gather, may we enter with thanksgiving, as your word commands again. Enter his gate with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Fill us with gratitude for your goodness and faithfulness. Bless this gathering with your peace, for the Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace. Guide our leaders and inspire our hearts to pursue justice, unity, and compassion. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
It is my honor to give the call to worship at this 73rd National Prayer Breakfast. Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him singing with joy. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Go into his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. Continue forever, and his faithfulness will continue forever and bless us in all of our tomorrows. Amen.
Thank you. It's always a distinct privilege and joy to hear the Naval Academy Glee Club and the Marine Corps Band. The Naval Academy Glee Club has moved and delighted audiences since 1845 in venues from Carnegie Hall to the Vatican. The Marine Corps Band has performed at nearly every inaugural. They accompanied Lincoln when he went to dedicate a cemetery at Gettysburg. They helped us hail the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty, and they welcomed Winston Churchill to the White House. Truly, the story of America has always been accompanied by the rhythms and harmonies of the Marine Corps Band and the Naval Academy Glee Club. And as we give them a warm welcome, please rise and join them as they lead all of us in song.
Say Thank you very much. This is very beautiful, I must say. This is a beautiful place. And our country is starting to do very well again. It's happening fast, a little faster than people thought. Thank you especially to Senator Marshall for the beautiful introduction. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Great senator you are. I also want to thank a friend and a man of profound faith and tremendous patriotism who's also become a great friend. You become much friendlier when you have a majority of 2 or 3 or 4. Could even be 5 pretty soon. But for a little while it was 1. And that's Mike Johnson, Speaker. Thank you very much, Mike, very much. And thanks as well to somebody who's doing a fantastic job, Senator Thune. Thank you very much, Senator. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's really great. And Leader Scalise, Steve, wherever you may be, I know I think you're here someplace. There he is, a brave guy, too. A brave guy, I always say it. And Senator Chuck Schumer. Chuck, thank you very much. Thank you. Senator Hassan, thank you very much. Thank you, very nice to see you. Congressman Jeffries, thank you. And many other very distinguished leaders in the room. It's a great group of people. If we could ever come together, it would be unbelievable. It may not happen, but it should, and maybe it will. From the earliest days of our republic, faith in God has always been the ultimate source of the strength that beats in the hearts of our nation. We have to bring religion back. We have to bring it back much stronger. It's one of the biggest problems that we've had over the last fairly long period of time. We have to bring it back. Thomas Jefferson himself once attended Sunday services held in the old House chamber on the very ground where I stand today. So there could be nothing more beautiful than for us to gather in this majestic place. It is majestic, and reaffirm that America is and will always be one nation under God. At every stage of the American story, our country has drawn hope and courage and inspiration from our trust in the Almighty. Deep in the soul of every patriot is the knowledge that God has a special plan and a glorious mission for America. And that plan is going to happen. It's going to happen. I hope it happens sooner rather than later. It's going to happen. And it's His hand that guides us every single step of the way. And all of you and the things we have to do is to see the defining role that faith and prayer have played in the life of our nation. And you just have to look at this building, and you can look at each other. You can really look at each other. It's defined almost everyone in this room. I think faith has been very strong with the people in this room. Just steps away from here in the Hall of Columns is the statue of John Winthrop, who famously proclaimed that America would stand as a city upon a hill, a light to all nations, with the eyes of all people upon us. Today, almost 400 years after that famous sermon, we see that with the Lord's help, the city stands taller and shines brighter than ever before, or at least it soon will. In that same hall, we also find the statue of the great Roger Williams, who founded the state of Rhode Island, named its capital city Providence, and built the first Baptist church in America. It's Williams that we have to thank for making religious liberty part of the bedrock of American life. And today we must protect the fundamental freedom with absolute devotion. We must stand strong, just like generations of Americans have done on the battlefields all around the world. Feet away from the magnificent rotunda Another statue watches over visitors to the Capitol. George Washington, the founder of our country, often called for Americans to join together in prayer, very often. And more than 2 centuries later, this morning, we heed President Washington's wisdom and follow in his mighty footsteps. He was a strong man and of great religious strength. The stories of legends like Washington, Winthrop, and Williams remind us that without faith in God, there would be no American story. Every citizen should be proud of this exceptional heritage. We have an unbelievable heritage, and we have to use that and make life better for everyone. That's why as we approach the 25th times 10 anniversary, think of that, 250 years we'll be celebrating next year of our country's founding. I have signed an executive order to resume the process of creating a new national park full of statues of the greatest Americans who ever lived. We're going to be honoring our heroes, honoring the greatest people from our country. We're not going to be tearing down, we're going to be building up. It would be called the National Garden of American Heroes. Some of you will be on that soon-to-be hallowed ground. Some of you, let's see, I can pick a few of you right now by looking. Because there's a couple of you right now I can see. Let's see. It's the president's sole opinion. And I've given myself a 25-year period. And then somebody else. By that time, it'll be very, very built up. No, it will be something very special. And I hope that Congress will fully fund this wonderfully unifying project at the first possible opportunity. It's not going to be a lot of money. It's going to be very important, however, so that more of our people can be inspired by the faith and courage of patriots like those who we honor in these halls. One of the incredible Americans whose memory my order will celebrate is also recognized with a statue in the Capitol representing the great state of North Carolina, and that's a man known who everybody loved, Reverend Billy Graham. He was something. My father used to take me to watch the Crusades. He would take me to Yankee Stadium. I remember it so well. I remember it more than I remember any Yankee game, and I've seen a lot of Yankee games. Can you believe it? And Billy didn't have a bat, so, you know, it was pretty good. It was amazing. You'd have 60 or 70,000 people, and they loved him. They loved him. I saw him with Franklin. I don't know if Franklin's here. I just don't know, but I've gotten to know Franklin. He's done a great job with helping on tragedies, on problems like in North Carolina, California. He's always the first one there. The work he does is, his father's very proud of him, I can tell you that. But Billy Graham was very special. One floor below us, Reverend Graham's statue stands with an open Bible. The page turned to a letter from the Apostle Paul, which reads, "Let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." Never give up. Never, ever give up. You can't. How about me? If I would have given up, I would not be here right now. Who knows where I'd be? It might not be a good place. If it was up to the Democrats, it would not be a good place at all. Never, ever give up. There could be no better message for the leaders gathered here, and you are real leaders. And we must never give up, and we must never grow tired. We must never grow weary, and we always must practice good. As you know, last week, only a few miles from here, our nation witnessed a terrible tragedy when 67 people were killed in a horrible accident near Reagan Airport. As one nation, we take solace in the knowledge that their journey that night did not end in the icy waters of the Potomac, but in the warm embrace of a very loving God. None of us knows exactly when our time on earth will be over. You never know. a truth I confronted a few short months ago when there was an incident that was not fun. It was not a good thing. But God was watching me. The chances of me being here, my sons are shooters. They're really good shooters, Don and Eric. And they said the chances of missing from that range with that gun are, but Don equated it to a 1-foot putt. That's pretty bad. 2 feet I can see missing, but 1 foot you can't miss. It was the equivalent of a 1-foot putt is what he told me. He said, in fact, he gained some religion. He went up 25%. And if you know him, that's a lot. But he said there had to be somebody that saved you, and I think I know who it is. And he looked up, and I said, "Whoa, Don, you've come a long way." He's a good guy, but my 2 sons just really couldn't believe it. Had I not turned that right turn just at that time, and the audience, 55,000 people standing this way, there were just a few people in the back on the bleachers. There was nobody over there except for my all-time favorite chart in history, a chart on immigration. Immigration saved my life, see? So we're going to be good for immigration, okay? But had I not made that turn, boom, and quickly, it was almost as though a deer bolted. You know, they say the only way you miss when you're a good shot is if it bolts. I bolted. I turned to the right to look at the chart, and I said, wow, what was that? What was that? So you never know, but God did that. I mean, it had to be. The chances of turning, there's no reason to turn to the right. You know, the chart is rarely brought down. I brought it down maybe 20%, and 20% of the time. And it's never on my right, it's always on my left. And it's always at the end of the speech, never the beginning of the speech. And if I was a little more than that 90-degree angle, it would be no good. And if I was a little less, it would be no good. It had to be perfect. Thing went right along the edge. It didn't affect my hair. Can you believe that? Might have touched it, but not where it counts. Not the skin part. But honestly, it's a mirror. It changed something in me. I feel even stronger. I believed in God, but I feel much more strongly about it. Something happened. So, thank you. Thank you. But that event, like the tragedy last week, should remind us all that we have to make the most out of every single day that we have. Who would think that you're in space and 2 things collide? The odds of that happening are so small, even without proper control. We should have had the proper control. We should have had better equipment. We don't. We have obsolete equipment. They were understaffed for whatever reason. I guess the helicopter was high, and we'll find out exactly what happened. But the odds, even if you had nothing, if you had nobody, the odds of that happening are extremely small. It's like, did you ever see, you go to a driving range in golf and you're hitting balls, hundreds of balls, thousands of hours. I never see a ball hit another ball. Balls going up all over the place. You never see them hit. It was amazing that could happen. There was a lot of mistakes made, and it should have never happened. But regardless of that, it's amazing that it happened. And I think that's going to be used for good. I think what is going to happen is we're all going to sit down and do a great computerized system for our control towers, brand new, not pieced together, obsolete like it is land-based, trying to hook up a land-based system to a satellite system. And the first thing that some experts told me when this happened is you can't hook up land to satellites and you can't hook up satellites to land. It doesn't work. We spent billions and billions of dollars trying to renovate an old broken system instead of just saying, cut it loose, and let's spend less money and build a great system done by 2 or 3 companies, very good companies, specialists, that's all it is. They used 39 companies. That means that 39 different hookups have to happen. And I don't know how many people of you are good in terms of all of the kind of things necessary for that, and it's very complex stuff. But when you have 39 different companies working on hooking up, different cities had different people, you need one company with one set of equipment. And there are some countries that have unbelievable air controller systems, and bells would have gone off when that helicopter literally even hit the same height, because it traveled a long distance before it hit. It was just wouldn't stop. It was, follow the line. But bells and whistles would have gone off. They have them where it actually could virtually turn the thing around. It would have just never happened if we had the right equipment. And one of the things that's going to be, I'm going to be speaking to John and to Mike and to Chuck and to everybody. We have to get together and just, as a single bill, just pass where we get the best control system. When I land in my plane, privately, I use a system from another country because my captain tells me, I'm landing in New York and I'm using a system. I won't tell you what country, but I use a system from another country because the captain says this thing is so bad, it's so obsolete, and we can't have that. So we're going to have the best system, and a lot of money, but it's not that much money. And it'll happen fast, and it'll be done by total professionals. And when it's done, you're not going to have accidents. It's just not, they're virtually not possible to have. Each of us is blessed with a precious chance to help lead America to renew our pledges of faith and everything else, and bring us to new heights and create a future of promise for our people and for ourselves. We have the most important people in the country in a true sense here, because you're the ones that are going to make the decision. You're the ones that are leading us into so many different things, whether it's the right air control system or the right size military, or what to do and what not to do. Most important people. And many of you are very religious. I know so many of you are very religious. And I just think that our country has been so badly hurt. We're very hurt by what COVID did to religion. It really hurt it badly. People couldn't go to church for a long period of time. Even going outside, they were given a hard time. And I'm not blaming anybody for that, but it was very hard to gather. So they start using computers, if that. And when they come back, it's just, a whole new experience they have to get used to. But it is starting to come back. We had a fantastic thing happen yesterday. The Army had the best recruitment numbers that they've had in more than 15 years. They think it could be 25 years, actually. They're going to probably put that out, but more than 15 years just now. And we were worried about it. We were talking about it numerous times that, we don't have people joining our military services. We don't have people joining our police force. We have to cherish our police. It's so dangerous. You open a car and somebody starts shooting. They have blackened windows. You don't even have any idea who's in the car. Oftentimes they have the dark windows, which they're not, in theory, supposed to have, but they have them. The door opens and a gun is pointed at your face, and you can't do a thing about it. It's just nothing you're going to do about it. Your friends will take them out. It's happened so many times, but it's such a dangerous thing. We have to cherish these people. So today we join our hearts and prayers in recommitting to putting our country first. We have to put our country first, making America stronger and greater and more exceptional than ever before. And we have to make religion a much more important factor now. We have to make it an important factor. And if we do that, our job is just going to be much easier. It unifies people, it brings people together. Democrats are going to be able to have lunch again and dinner with Republicans. And I remember just as growing up, I'd see, I revered senators and congressmen or something very special, but they were out to dinner all the time. We had an old congressman, maybe some of Cy Halpern from Queens, and he was a friend of my father. But he'd have dinner he was a Democrat, he'd have dinner with Republicans, and he'd be out. It wouldn't even make a difference. Today, it's like it's like shocking. And it shouldn't be. You have to get together. We really have to get together. We all know what's right and what's wrong, and there's going to be compromise on both sides. But we have to just do the right thing, and we have to get together. You did it with Marco Rubio. You got everybody who was 99 votes, and the only vote was our VP, who maybe we should have been there just to make it 100. But I think I would have been angered if it was 100. That might be a step too far, right? But no, it was great to see a vote. Pam Bondi had support from Democrats, and some of the others had some pretty good support. So, you know, it's doable. We had a recent bill having to do with a very beautiful young lady who was killed from Georgia. And that bill was very bipartisan. It was a very beautiful thing to watch, actually. And so I think we just have to, if possible, we have to unify. There's big division. I mean, some people want an open border and some people want a closed border. We want it closed and they want it open. And that's a big difference. How do you solve that problem? It's a big difference. Some people want men and women's sports and some people don't. And I was with somebody yesterday who was so upset that the bill was signed where men cannot participate in women's sports. And I said, he's a very smart guy, went to a great school, was a great student, and he actually feels, you know, that should happen. Men should be able to play, meaning transition into women's sports. And you talk to him and it says, you know, I don't understand it. I don't understand how the problem ever got started in the first place. It just seems so simple. But he's a good person and just believes it. He just believes it. Not going to be easy to convince him otherwise. So where is a middle ground? It's hard to have a middle ground. There's two ways. I mean, you can either do it or you can't. But I think a lot of good things are going to happen. You know, a lot of people might be surprised to hear me say that, of all people, but I think a lot of good things are going to happen because our country's got some big headaches, but we have tremendous spirit right now. The spirit is as high as it's been. It was up 49 points this morning. 49 points. It's never been. It's the biggest increase in the history of whatever the poll was. So the spirit is there. That's a big factor. That's probably the hardest thing to get back, to be honest. The rest is easy. The rest is easy. So I want to just thank you all. I want to congratulate a lot of the new members. I see so many of you that ran great races, David. That was a great race. But so many that ran great races, and on both sides. You ran some incredible races, so it's good to be with you. And God bless everybody. We want to come together, and the happiest, the person, the element, the everything that's going to be happy. People of religion are going to be happy again. And I really believe you can't be happy without religion, without that belief. I really believe it. I just don't see how you can be. So let's bring religion back. Let's bring God back into our lives. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Great honor. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Naval Academy Midshipmen performing "O God, Our Help in Ages Past."
Shelter
You've been watching excerpts from the 73rd National Prayer Breakfast that was held this past Thursday. This was at the U.S. Capitol. President Trump also held another event also that morning, but wanted you to hear in his own words, even his near assassination attempt and how he saw really the direct hand of God in preserving his life at just that exact moment. But trust you enjoyed that presentation. We did have to edit it down because the whole ceremony was longer than what this telecast is, but you got some of the main meat from that broadcast. Well, President Trump has been involved in signing many executive actions since he took office, bringing accountability back to the various cabinet-level offices, the agencies, and to the staff as well. Removing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, has been a big matter all across these United States. Also removing wokeness from federal agencies and wokeness from the military. There's been actually an increase in the number of recruits coming into the military as he removes this wokeness from there. And something else he did was declare that there are only two genders, male and female. And also putting pause to the U.S. aid program, a program that has been really proliferating the LGBTQ plus agenda around the world. Well, one of the matters that took place last Wednesday was the signing of an executive order that was regarding no men in women's sports. No men in women's sports. He held this signing ceremony at the White House, and we want to take you to that White House ceremony. Again, we don't have time to air the entire remarks that the president made, but we do want to call out some of those remarks to keep you informed on the stand that he has taken. Let's go right now to tape as we witness what happened at the White House just last week.
Thank you very much. This is a nice crowd, isn't it, huh? You've been waiting a long time for this. Yeah. So have I. Actually, it was so ridiculous. But here we are. And this doesn't have to be long. It's just all about common sense. Doesn't have to be long. In a few moments, I'll sign a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. But before going further, I want to share some very exciting news from our military. After years of shrinking force numbers at levels that nobody has ever seen before, 4 years of this we went through, and missed recruiting targets every single month, it was just announced that in December, the U.S. Army had its single best recruitment in more than 15 years. Thanks. Every single day, nearly 350 new soldiers enlisted to defend our nation, and they're very happy to have done so. We've done lots of interviews, and we asked why this was taking place now, and they just said there's a spirit about our country that they haven't seen in many years, and I happen to agree with that. But it really is clear proof that the spirit is sweeping our armed forces, and we have a great leader in Pete. As you know, we all know Pete so well. He's going to be fantastic, and so many of our great heroes, and people are starting to understand what hero is all about. So that is something that is very important. We've gotten the woke lunacy out of our military. And now we're very importantly getting it out of women's sports. That's taking place very strongly. So in recent years, the radical left has waged an all-out campaign to erase the very concept of biological sex and replace it with a militant transgender ideology. You've heard a little bit about this, haven't you? Huh? Just a little bit? Does anybody agree with them? No. Would be not a good thing to say yes right here. Female athletes have been forced onto the front lines, and men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories, that's a lot, and invaded more than 11,000 competitions designed for women. Last year, a male cyclist posing as a woman competed in the 800-mile Arizona Trail Race, a very big deal in cycling, and obliterated the women's course record by nearly 5.5 hours. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it, huh? 5.5 hours, but you have to hear the weightlifting records. You think that's bad. The weightlifting's worse. In 2023, a man in women's powerlifting broke 2 world records and outlifted his closest female opponent in one event by 440 pounds. And they continue to defend themselves, Mr. Congressman. You know that, right? They continue to defend themselves. We hope they continue onward because I don't think we can lose a race. This was one of the big reasons that we all won, and it's one of the big reasons that we had a record, a landslide like they haven't seen before, very often anyway. And who could forget last year's Paris Olympics where a male boxer stole the women's gold medal after brutalizing his female opponent so viciously that she had to forfeit just after 46 seconds, and she was a championship fighter. And actually, they had 2 women or 2 people that transitioned, and both of them won gold medals, and they won them very convincingly. But all of that ends today because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over. Thank you, everybody. Great. It should have been done long ago, actually. Thank you. Thank you very much. With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding. So this will effectively end the attack on female athletes at public K-12 schools and virtually all U.S. colleges and universities. I don't think we've missed anything, but if we do, we'll make it up very quickly with an order. We're honored to be joined today by many incredible advocates for women's sports, including the brave swimmer at the forefront of this battle. And Riley Gaines is a person that I've been watching. Fought hard. Riley was a 12-time All-American. Well, that's pretty good. 12-time All-American who sacrificed countless hours in the pool just for a chance at the title. It's so important to her. She gave up everything and just gave everything she had. But then the league forced her to share a spot on the podium with a male swimmer who took her trophy while the media celebrated this stolen glory. And Riley is just a tremendous athlete, and it was a very unfair situation. I watched it. A lot of people watched it. It was ridiculous, frankly. But I want to thank Riley. She really has been in the forefront. People that aren't that well-versed in this would say that she was the leader. And great job, Riley. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And also with us is another great champion for women, Peyton McNabb. In high school, Peyton was a rock star athlete. Where is Peyton? Where is Peyton? Oh, I like Peyton. Nice to see you. Good job. Good job. Looks like a good athlete to me. In high school, Peyton was a rock star athlete preparing for a future in college sports, but in one volleyball match, a much taller and stronger male spiked the ball right in her face, knocking her unconscious, partially paralyzing her right side and leaving her with a traumatic brain injury. And Peyton said it was 100% avoidable if only my rights as a female athlete had been more important than a man's feelings, and we can't let it happen, and it's not going to happen. Not going to happen anymore, Peyton. It's not going to happen. Are you okay? Are you good?
I'm doing a lot better.
Good. That's good. Thank you. But the actions we're taking today are the latest in a sweeping effort to reclaim our culture and our laws from the radical left crusade against biological reality. On day one, I made it official, and I'm making it official policy of the United States government that there is, two genders. We have two genders. What might they be? Man and woman, right? Male and female. Male and female. Can't think of too many others, but it's pretty amazing. I rescinded federal funds to, and this is so important, to any program that promotes transgender ideology using taxpayer dollars. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. And last week, I effectively banned the chemical castration and surgical mutilation of minor children. Can you believe I even have to say that? I banned governor, I banned, that's just like, who would ever think we have to even say that? Last week I banned. Every day we're ending the extremism of the last 4 years. We have other things that are just as ridiculous, not having to do with the subject, but just as ridiculous. Open borders where people are allowed to pour in from all over the world, from jails and prisons and mental institutions and insane asylums, people that are very sick, people that are very evil, killers, murderers. Many of them murdered more than one person. And we have to justify the fact that we're moving them out. We are moving them out in tremendous numbers. Tom Homan and Christie are doing a fantastic job, and the governor and other governors too. But that we have to even fight for this stuff is just incredible. And the media doesn't want to talk about it because it's nothing they can talk about. It's just they just don't want to really talk very much about it. Serious problem, but we're doing a great job, and the people understand, and that's why we won in a landslide. You know, they made it easy, and at some point, we have to hope they do come around because we can never let this happen again. What's happened to our country, we can never let this happen again. So we are restoring sanity and common sense very simply to our government. We're defending the rights and safety and pride of the American people, including our great, great, great female athletes. What athletes you are, too, I tell you. And, I'm not allowed to say this politically. It could end my career. They're really beautiful people. These are beautiful people. But like everything else, it's a little bit different today. You're not allowed to say that because if you call a woman or a girl beautiful, that's the end of your career. But let's take a chance on it, Mike. Let's take a chance. So I want to thank everybody for being here. It's fantastic. And this is sort of a big, big day. It shouldn't have even been necessary to take place. This started a long time ago, and we ended it today. And I'm going to sign the executive order right now, and everything I said will go into effect immediately, okay? Thank you. If you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on. Come on.
Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. Okay, do you want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? Are you ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature, because this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all. Great going, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you, kids. Here.
What you just watched was part of the signing ceremony that took place at the White House last week, protecting women's sports. Friends, as you watched the whole of that presentation at the White House, you just saw the joy that many women had as their sports are being protected from males identifying as females. And as he pointed out, so many records have been shattered, women's records taken away by men who are identifying as women. And very important for this executive order to take place, and we understand that even word from the NCAA that they're going to follow suit in the actions taken here by the president, and something that many are thankful for. You saw the likes of Riley Gaines that was there for this presentation, and others, those who've had their lives shattered as a result of really pressing this issue. I find it interesting here in the state of Wisconsin that even as Donald Trump has recognized that there are only two genders, male and female, that this past Friday it came out in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, an article that came out with Reuters, I understand, behind it as well. The call vows to back trans health care across the access laws here in the state. Let me just read you one sentence. Pushing back against a series of executive orders from the Trump administration, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul announced Wednesday that he joined a coalition of 15 attorneys general to reaffirm the state's commitment to protecting access to gender-affirming medical care. He's talking about body mutilation surgeries. The press release said Trump was wrong on the science and the law. Friends, can you understand that? Science tells us that there are only two genders, and Josh Kaul says that his orders, they're defying science. Really? You're either XX or XY chromosome, and that's what science tells us. And certainly these are actions, no doubt, they're going to take long working through the judicial system, but matters that are forthcoming here. But our state attorney general bucking against these executive actions. Well, friends, we trust that the information shared on the program has been helpful to you to gain better understanding of things that are unfolding, and they're happening at lightning speed across this nation as well, with many executive actions and shakeups that are happening in virtually every department in the cabinet as well. And be praying for our nation. Friends, don't rest upon an election day only participation. You need to be engaged and active. And one of the things that you can do is stay in steady prayer for this administration. As Scripture tells us to be praying for kings, for those who are in authority, that we might lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. So here at TV 30, we encourage you to stay informed and be prayerful regarding this administration, the administration of our state government as well. Doesn't matter if there's an R or D behind the name, be praying for your leaders. We want to thank you for joining us on this special inFocus program tonight, bringing you highlights from this past week of not only this prayer service at the Capitol, but also the signing ceremony at the White House. God bless you, friends. Thanks for joining us tonight on inFocus.